Trump and I are always for financial education and all this stuff. But DeSantis is now going to start using some of our things to teach financial education in Florida. So it's changing, but we're up against the teachers' unions. And that's what this book, Manifesto, starts with. I'm not against teachers. I'm against stealing my freedom. And the first chapter is the NEA, National Extortion Association, the teachers' union, the most powerful, richest most powerful union in America.
It's interesting because I can tell you, as somebody that lived the last 8 years in California, I now live in the free state of Florida. Your facial reaction was just right. Now obviously I'm not paying any income tax. And it's like, man, you know what? This state is still running, and actually it's running quite efficiently, and freedom is flourishing, and business is flourishing, and everyone's moving here, and I have 2 businesses here. And it's like everyone's fleeing California because they're just taking 10% at the end of the year. What they're doing with it, nobody freaking knows.
And it's really tragic because, I left Hawaii too. Hawaii is more Marxist than California, unfortunately. Good people, nice weather, but they don't know they're Marxists. They really don't, because they didn't teach you the difference in school. But it's a feeling. Do you know what I mean? Don't you feel different in Florida?
Yes, you're totally right. I literally feel different. I'll tell you this. I felt when I was landing in the plane, December 17th, 2021, landing in the plane. When I landed in Florida, I felt something lift off my chest. That's how oppressive I felt that it was, especially the last 2 years in California.
Yes. I can't believe what's happening, Dave. So when I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad back in 1997, I first created the Cashflow board game to teach financial statements, income, expense, statements of cash flow. But most people, they leave school, they have a high GPA, grade point average, but they don't have a financial statement. Strange, isn't it? What's more important, your grade point average or your financial statement? And my rich dad always said to me, because he never went to school, because my poor dad was a PhD, poor, helpless, desperate. And my rich dad said, I'm like 12 years old. He says, my banker's never asked me for my report card yet. So I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And now I wrote this book here, The Capitalist Manifesto, because capitalism starts with a financial statement. Think about it. How much income, how many expenses, assets, and liabilities. And what most people don't realize, the US dollar is a liability against the taxpayer. That's why 1913, the Fed was created, and so was the IRS. Was that a mistake?
Probably. I think that would be an understatement coming from you. Probably was. I mean, it really is amazing that we don't teach in public schools in the United States. We basically teach no financial literacy. I don't know if you've seen this, but Ron DeSantis in Florida just signed something where they will start making sure that you have basic financial literacy. And it's like, oh, okay, we're going to actually teach young people something rather than gender.
I'm glad you say that, because I'm kind of torn now between Trump and DeSantis, because Trump and I are always for financial education and all this stuff. But DeSantis is now going to start using some of our things to teach financial education in Florida. So it's changing, but we're up against the teachers' unions. And that's what this book, Manifesto, starts with. I'm not against teachers. I'm against stealing my freedom. And the first chapter is the NEA, National Extortion Association, the teachers' union, the most powerful, richest most powerful union in America.
Maybe they're losing some power now. I mean, after 2 years of COVID, it seems like a lot of people have maybe turned against them. I don't know whether it actually translates into anything, but people are kind of fed up with it.
Well, I think you and I, you said it earlier, 10 years ago, we couldn't be saying what we're saying now. 10 years ago, I couldn't have written this book. But today, when those communists call parents who question critical race theory and sexual orientation, whatever they're doing, and they call any parent who questions academics terrorists. I mean, it's your kid. Don't you have a right to say what you teach your child? And so that's why the Manifesto book here is how to combat communism taught in our schools by teaching capitalism in our schools. I mean, at home. My rich dad taught me to be a capitalist at home, not at school.
I want to ask you, so because you talk about your rich dad, poor dad, obviously, do you think it was something beyond just the education that defined them in that regard? Like, do you think it was a personality trait or nature versus nurture, that a certain type of person becomes more interested in relying on a system and a certain type of person is wired to say, hey, I'm going to go get mine? Beyond just the education part.
Well, that's why I say PhD, poor, helpless, desperate. They need the job, they need the paycheck, they need the benefits. Whereas when I went to the U.S. Marine Corps, it's a different education. We're taught to lead, we're taught to fight, we're taught to sacrifice. Nicholson says it best in A Few Good Men. Santiago's death, while tragic, saved lives. And you can't handle the truth.
You can't handle it.
And that's the U.S.
It's weird that he's now the good guy, huh?
I loved them. I hated it when I was in it. Those SOBs, they were yelling and screaming at me 24/7. But when we got to Vietnam, we were a fighting machine. I flew the helicopter gunship, and my crew chiefs were just as important as the pilots. We couldn't function without a team. And we killed a lot of people, unfortunately. But we also had a lot of atrocities against us, too. And so when I realized I was in Vietnam for the second time, went there in 66 and then 72, and we were fighting for freedom. That's what we're fighting for, not capitalism. And then I come back and I land at Norton Air Force Base in California, January 10th, 1973. And I get spit on, get hit by eggs by all those hippies from the Woodstock generation. Mm-hmm. I saw this book, which I read in 1965, coming true. I said, we're becoming a communist nation.
So what is the best way? I mean, my audience watching this, they like capitalism, and we can sell capitalism on them all day. They don't even need it sold on them in a certain regard. But what is the best way to deprogram someone out of the Communist Manifesto? Because that seems to be where we're at now with a whole generation of young people.
Well, that's a great question, because I learned to be a capitalist playing Monopoly. It ain't that hard, Dave.
Especially if you're the one doing the banking, it's pretty easy.
I know. Just watch the banker's hands,
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics instead of nonstop yelling, check out our politics playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist, all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.